Hello, Saturday is a different video to yesterday. Yesterday I introduced you to my studio and some of the ways of how I work in the studio and what I'm interested in and what I'm working on. So now it's more a firmly choreographed lecture that I have published before as well. It's kind of like my favorite lecture right now. And it is scripted. Therefore, I will go first of all and share my screen with you, and then I have to, so you can see my screen, and I will do this so that I go to, okay, here we go. So this lecture is called Rosa, Rubea, Homuncula, and it is within the area of metaphorical symbolization that I'm interested in jewelry pieces that map out the demarcation lines where body meets world, a place, or rather an idea of a place where narratives are invested in objects with the aim to negotiate that gap, that complexity, confusion, or conflict in relation to private and subjective mental experience. My aim is to achieve an imagery of the unconscious and address symbolization by using metaphorisy to cross-map emotional investment conducive to new creative articulation and representation. So this necklace it's Rosa, Rubea, Homuncula references the making of a fictional and mythological entity with its variety of possible combinations and compositions. So as you can see, the setting is made of press studs that are laser welded, and a variety of external pieces can be clipped on and off. So a variety of possible combinations and compositions, it refers to the madness of the artist to make something living, or at least something which has the power to affect life. The making of the ruby, the making of a homuncula, the tenuous on-off clipping of decorative elements, and the transitional magic of a wearable object where some of the passionate investment is situated in the construction of the narrative. So much so that at times the fictional interest overtakes the need for facts and so questions the nature of scholarship as a kind of literature. The synthetic rubies have been made. Here's a list of what is in this necklace. The synthetic rubies and sapphires have been made using the A1 to AI 203 Verneuil flame fusion method. The physical and chemical characteristics are the same as natural rubies and sapphires. 380 carat. Imagine, that would represent a lot of money, should that be real. Auguste Verneuil published his paper on the reproduction of artificial rubies through fusion in 1904, making it possible for anyone with chemical and mechanical knowledge to reproduce rubies. The process, the flame fusion, is a method to manufacture synthetic gemstones primarily used to produce ruby and sapphire varieties of corundum, as well as the diamond similans, rutile, and strontium titanate. The principle of the process involves melting finely powdered substance using oxyhydrogen flame and crystallizing the melted droplet into a boule. Rosa Rubea is the alchemical rubedo the ultimate phase of the opus magnum or opus chemicum, announcing the transmutation of vile metal into gold. But Rosa Rubea is also the essence of the red rose. Here it's depicted as a homunculus, a crowned king. A symbolic homunculus, or I prefer homuncula, since it's female, from the preciosissimum donum Dei, the most precious gift of God, an important 15th century alchemical work by Georgios Aurach de Argentina. The rose is an alchemical symbol and the symbol of the Virgin Mary. In another symbolization, the rose is the flesh and the creative power embracing the cross that represent death and resurrection. And here's a plasticized rose brooch on my bench in London, in my studio in London. Creating the essence of the red rose, all matter that can decompose must be separated from the essence. The distilling process is complicated and difficult. I have tried, believe me, because the material rots so fast. You crush a rose petal to enjoy the incredible smell, and after only a fraction of a second, it starts to stink. So right now, what I'm doing is trying to translate rose petals into silver by using what I explained yesterday, the kind of the using silver clay and making it so fluid and watery that I can paint it onto the most fragile material. This here is the final result of it having been on a rose petal, so it's a live cast of the rose petal. Obviously, as I explained already yesterday, I've made hundreds to just have this one. Going into part 2. In 1510, Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa von Nettesheim writes the first book of his De Occulta Philosophia, a synthesis of Christianity and magic, interwoven with Neoplatonic mysticism. The book was very influential throughout Europe till the Counter-Reformation. In the book, Agrippa sets out to develop a methodology through which he aims to capture the energies of higher worlds with the aim to affect the lower. For him, this is not at all a godless doing. Agrippa is one of those very intense and interesting, multi-talented artist, scholar, writer, who one week was the best friend of the Pope, while the next he had to be on the run from one monk group or another to not end up on the stake for blasphemy. And of course, he was a goldsmith. What makes him a very different writer to many other sorcerers, or devil students as he called them, is the systematic collection and analysis of all available knowledge of magic of his time. Astrology, number magic in the Kabbalah, angels, demons, spirits, necromancy, magic ceremonies, omen, dreams, amulets, and talismans. The other aspect which differentiates his scholarship from much of his peers is that he, as early as 1510, is conscious of embedded interpretation. He says only that the meaning is another than that what the naked letter offers. He distinguishes true magic from other superstitious nonsense through the prototype psychoanalytical belief that it is a power in the soul, which, when passionate, is capable of affecting and transforming mensch and things. While the word translated into English means human being, mensch, The Yiddish word mensch means a person of integrity and honor. One is not necessarily born a mensch. One has to aspire to be mensch. With this in mind, Agrippa now, designs sigils to attract, capture, and use angels, and to ban, capture, and manipulate demons. Figurations of duality signifying energies outside of human control, and in this context, not forces of nature, but of morality and power. Agrippa explores systematically the design development expedient to create objects which affect life, and if believed are, if you like, living objects. In a later edition of his book, he explores the magical virtues of magic squares, each associated with one of the astrological planets. This is, for example, one how these sigils work. They are related to the planets. And this is one that is much more complex and interesting, of course. It is the sigil of Hagil, the planetary intelligence of Venus. It is drawn on the magic square of Venus. Each Hebrew letter provides a numerical value, giving the peaks of the sigil. The sigil of spirits, angels, and demons are always derived from the design method with which the magic squares are created. The letters of the entity's name is changed, two numerical values and lines are traced through the pattern. In the context of magic, magic squares include a variety of word and number squares found in grimoires, other textbooks on magic, which teach how to make magical objects like talisman, amulets, magical spells, charms, and divination tools. Here, this one, much less complex and scholarly, is a design for an amulet which comes from the Black Poulet, another grimoire believed to be written in the 18th century. Oops. I have a fault.